oh, but the oil and gas industry need to be our partners. Well, that's like telling a battered woman that she has to stay with the husband who's been beating her up, right? When someone has behaved in a consistent pattern for more than 30 years, then you know what they're likely to keep doing. And what they've proven to us is that they cannot be trusted partners. No, obviously not. I mean, no oil is green, no oil is clean. And if someone's like a little worse than the others, well, I mean, that's like saying some cigarettes a little worse than another cigarette, but it's basically a lie. And, again, if we go back to tobacco, the tobacco industry produced low tar cigarettes, implying that somehow those were less dangerous, but they weren't. They were just as dangerous. It turned out if people smoked low tar cigarettes, they just smoked more of them, right? Or they inhaled more deeply. Yeah, so you did that, okay. Yeah, I mean, and you get it, right? People are looking for an out. They're looking for an excuse. They don't want to give up this super profitable product. But at the end of the day, it is a lie because it's oil and gas. And every drop of oil you burn, every drop of gas you burn, puts greenhouse gases in the atmosphere that makes the planet hotter. And people are getting hurt. And that's the key thing I think we have to keep coming back to is these people are doing damage. People are suffering. People are having their houses are burning down. Their communities are being flooded. People are dying earlier from air pollution, maybe not here in Norway, but around the globe. And if we use products that are killing people elsewhere, I mean, there's no plausible framework in which that's a moral position. Like, oh, it's fine because I'm not dumping my garbage here. I'm dumping it across the street. No, we would never accept that if it was just in our own communities, right? If there were a company in my community that was dumping the garbage in my backyard rather than in the backyard of the factory, nobody would plausibly for 1 second think that that was a credible argument. And yet, I would describe it as a 30-year disinformation campaign. The science about the role of fossil fuels in driving disruptive climate change has been known now for more than 30 years. And if you go back to 1992, when Norway and 190 some odd other countries signed the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, that was an expression of understanding the science, that we knew what was going on, and the idea that we needed to make a commitment to address it, to protect people and animals and, natural beauty and the safety of communities and coastal areas and all of these things. We knew about this 30 years ago, and we had political will. So ask yourself the question, what the heck happened? Why have 33 years gone by and we've done essentially nothing, right? Oil and gas production is higher than ever. Fossil fuel industry profits are as high as ever. And the short answer is we've done nothing because the oil industry has been there to stop action at every step. Every time the world was getting close to doing something, whether it was Kyoto, Paris, Copenhagen, the oil and gas industry was there to say, no, we can't do this. No, it's too expensive. No, it's too difficult. No, trust us. We're taking care of it. No, the solution is carbon capture and storage. Don't worry, we'll do geoengineering. They've always had some explanation, some excuse why we didn't actually need meaningful governance to address the climate. And they've been powerful and they've been successful. And just this week, the UN was on the verge of a treaty about a carbon pricing system on international shipping, which is a really big part of emissions. And we know the United States and Saudi Arabia, both major oil producing companies, both petrostates, in the end blocked it. So it also means that people who care about this issue have to stop waiting for the United States to do the right thing. We've had 30 years to prove that they won't. And you have to stop waiting for the oil and gas industry to do the right thing. And this is, I guess, for me, this is what I feel personally, because I can't tell you how many times I've been with colleagues at Harvard or colleagues at other universities who say, oh, but the oil and gas industry need to be our partners. Well, that's like telling a battered woman that she has to stay with the husband who's been beating her up, right? When someone has behaved in a consistent pattern for more than 30 years, then you know what they're likely to keep doing. And what they've proven to us is that they cannot be trusted partners. And that it's just wishful thinking to think otherwise. For a while, people were pushing the idea that there were some good oil companies, that Royal Dutch Shell, for example, was somehow better than the others. But at the end of the day, the evidence basically shows they're all more or less the same, variations on the same theme. And they're all, involved in continuing to promote oil and gas because that's what they do. There's no oil or gas company on this planet that's really made a serious commitment to transitioning to renewable energy. And Equinor was the one that was supposed to have done that in our era. It was BP before, back in the 90s. Remember Beyond Petroleum, right? BP claimed that they were going to transition away from oil and gas, but in the end they didn't either. And I think the problem is that the profits that you make from oil and gas are so giant and the markets are so big that there's really no incentive for companies to change unless they're forced to, either by political pressure or by regulation. And that's why in my own work I keep coming back to the role of political movements and the role of governance, because these companies will not do it on their own, because the incentive structure of the capitalist system is to keep drilling and producing and selling and using oil and gas, because the market-based system doesn't accurately reflect the true costs of using these products. It's hard to accept when people are bad. We want to believe that people, corporate executives, companies, that they want to do the right thing, that they do care about the people. And I think especially in a country like Norway, I think you want to believe this is our company, right? It's our state-owned company. Obviously, they should be acting in the interest of the Norwegian people. I don't think Americans necessarily think that about ExxonMobil or Chevron, but even there, a lot of people, they want to believe these are fundamentally decent human beings. And maybe they are. When they go home, they may be nice to their children, but in terms of their actions as corporate executives, they've proven a very consistent pattern of not only refusing to act on climate change, but actively obstructing meaningful action. It's a kind of greenwashing where corporations who are doing damage try to clean up their reputations by giving money to good causes. I mean, one famous example was the tobacco industry in the United States back in the 60s and 70s gave a lot of money to women's sports. They said, look how great we are. We're supporting women, and supporting equal pay for women in tennis tournaments. And so this is a known strategy by which corporations essentially whitewash their reputations. And people often buy into it for the obvious reason, as you said. They persuade themselves that there's a net good because then the money goes to do good things. Universities do this as well. My own university, Harvard, years ago, one of our presidents, Derek Bach, who in many ways is an outstanding human being. I have tremendous respect for much of what he's done. He's written some very interesting books. I agree with him about a lot of things. But he made the argument that Harvard should take money from any source, no matter how dreadful, because we would then apply that money to good things. So it's, the argument, there's no such thing as tainted money except taint enough, right? So this argument is very frequently made, but what it misses is the fact that we do damage because we help these companies whitewash their reputations. And in the case of American tobacco, the tobacco industry particularly supported one particular tournament, the Virginia Slims tournament, which was coupled to a marketing campaign of cigarettes that were specifically targeted at women. Smoking rates among women rose dramatically in the period, after World War II. And now in America today, cancer rates among men are going down, but among women, they're still going up because of this, kind of late stage increase in women smoking. And, according to the World Health Organization, 8 million people die every single year from using tobacco products. 8 million. We understand the temptation, and obviously if I were running the Red Cross, I'd be worried too about how I fund this activity. But at the end of the day, I don't think you can justify doing damage over here because it helps you clean something up over there. I just think that's fundamentally immoral. And again, there's a net harm done. As you just said, World Health Organization, as you said correctly, the numbers that they attribute deaths based on air pollution, which is mostly driven by fossil fuels, not entirely, but the lion's share. I mean, those deaths now are close to or outpacing deaths from tobacco. So if you think about, if I were in the Red Cross, I would say, yes, we're trying to help people, for sure. And yes, we're saving lives. But now we have to weigh those lives against the people who are dying from these products. And are we complicit in the deaths of those people. And if we take money from the tobacco industry or the fossil fuel industry, then the answer is yes, we are complicit. And if we enable those industries to continue business as usual, then we're not just complicit in the deaths that are happening today, but we're also complicit in the deaths that will happen in the future. So I understand why schools feel that they need to partner with the private sector, and I don't want to say that that's always wrong, but I really think that one of the things schools need to remember is that we count on schools to be independent. School is one of the few places in life where we're not bombarded by advertising and media that's intended to sell us products. And so if schools begin to cooperate in these campaigns, which are essentially marketing programs, then we're really corrupting the school system and undermining the independence and the objectivity of the education that our children are getting. And that can't be right. Let's view this as an opportunity. Norway has managed its oil revenues well. That's a great thing. They've actually used it in ways that have benefited the people of Norway, which is not the case in most oil-producing countries. So that's a good thing, and Norwegians can feel glad that these funds have been used in good ways. But now that that's been done, and now that there's also quite a bit of money in the sovereign wealth fund, right? I think Norway's sovereign wealth funds is one of the biggest on the planet, right?
It's the biggest.
It's the biggest. Okay, so this is a tremendous opportunity to do the right thing, right? To use that money to finance a transition in an orderly way. And I mean, if any country could do it, it's Norway. And if Norway fails to do it, then that will be a colossal moral, economic, social, and historic failure. And Norway will go down in history as having absolutely failed at something that they could have succeeded. So maybe there's a carrot and stick argument to be made there that you guys have the opportunity to do this right, and if you don't, history will not forgive you.